YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below. Well, Rovers fans, we said we wanted to be jolly on the post-match stream against Watford. We weren't, but now we can. What a fantastic victory for Rovers today, away at Coventry City. It's going to be all sunshine and butterflies for the next hour as we dissect that brilliant 4-0 victory. I'm joined again by Alex Lomax. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm feeling a lot better after that, Ryan. I think you are as well.
I am. Jacob Ward, how are you doing?
I'm very happy after that, yeah. It was definitely a must-win today with the 8 players they had out, and I'm just glad we managed to get that second goal in the second half and kill the game.
Excellent. And Joe Harvey, delighted to have you again. How are you, mate?
Yeah, feeling much better today. Good stuff.
Excellent. Well, Rovers fans, it's a post-match live stream for you again with a little bit of a twist. Again, buoyed by what we did on Wednesday night, we're going to give you the opportunity not just to comment and hit us with your comments in the comments box. If you want to join us on the show, you know, like a little mini phone-in if you want, please DM Rovers Chat, the Rovers Chat Twitter, with your question, and we will get you on the show with us. You can ask a question live or make a point live and just some further interactions with us. So we're really excited to have you with us as well. As ever, if you are not following Rovers Chat on Twitter, it's Rovers_chat. And of course, give this YouTube channel a big subscribe and all of our videos a like. So let's start with just initial thoughts on the game. Joe, let's come to you. Just sum it up in a minute or so. You know, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think we talked on Wednesday. Obviously, we were all not down, but a difficult night on Wednesday. And I think today was obviously a big positive. Some huge parallels between this game and the Wycombe game, and obviously the Derby game as well. So really nice high press, kind of goal chances that we thrive upon. And pretty much everybody had a 7, 8 out of 10 and above, really. A nice debut for Barry Douglas. I thought he provided some great crosses into the box, and in some ways it was a shame that we didn't have somebody a bit more potent in the air on the end of those, but I think he just provided some calmness. That kind of left quadrant of Williams, Douglas, Johnson was far superior to Ayala, Bell, Johnson that we saw on Wednesday. I think it just provided much more relaxed play in those areas. And then Rankin Costello on the other side, that was the contentious one. I think before the match, before we even kicked off, everyone was a little bit like, oh, okay, Nyambe not playing. But I think Mowbray was proved to be tactically correct with that one. I think yet again, there's a clear causation between Rankin Costello playing and Rovers picking up wins with high results. With high goals scored. So, yeah, good game. Nice to see Adam on the score sheet. Ben Brereton, I'm sure we're going to touch on. Harvey Elliot goal and assist. Really good stuff. So, yeah, really happy.
Excellent. And Rovers fans watching, do drop your comments into the box there for us. How are you feeling? How did that one go for you? Alex, I'm going to come to you. Surely there must be a beaming smile coming from you now. There's got to be. Come on, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'll do the Jeremy Clarkson winning face, I think. Yeah, I think I'm just really pleased with that. I think the biggest thing for me was on the back of the disappointment on Wednesday. I think it would have been easy for the players to be kind of downhearted in the way we were playing, the way we were approaching the game. I think the biggest thing for me today was that we carried on basically doing what we've been doing, high press, keep the ball, spread the pitch, make the pitch big, just quick pass into feet, balls in behind to let the strikers run onto. And I just think they played really well today. I think there were signs of Rovers playing well even before the sending off, but I think that will be seen ultimately as the big moment that changed the game. But I think overall it was an extremely dominant performance. And as Joe said, it was really in the vein of the Wycombe game, to be honest. And I just thought that going through this season, that we can capitalise against the so-called weaker teams in this league, because ultimately, I think since we've been relegated, we've struggled maybe against the teams at the very top and the teams at the very bottom, and maybe we've had that sweet spot in lower mid-table where we always beat those teams. So I think if we can continue in this vein, then that is I'm quite optimistic going forward. But obviously, it's doing it on a consistent basis now, which, as we've seen so far this season, it's been, win one and lose one. So we'll see how we get on going forward. But yeah, definitely optimistic.
Absolutely. And there's lots of love for Rovers' performance already today in the comments. Hunter's Army, let's see if you can keep your crown for best comment post-match. Hunter's Army, get in the boys. L. Scotty 2706, when we win, we don't just win. Yep. And Daniel Woods, mom the boys. And Andy Watson, simply too good today. And then Ovez 2006, great performance, suffocated Coventry right from the first whistle. And yeah, that suffocation we will touch upon in this next hour. Jacob, your thoughts on the game? How did it go for you? How are you feeling?
Oh, very happy with that. Like that said, it seems when we win, we absolutely smashed the opponents we're playing. So really can't complain with that. Makes up for the past 3 games where it's been pretty frustrating to watch at times. Like I mentioned, was very happy for us to get that second goal, and then felt a lot more calm after that, because after the penalty, just constantly missing chances in that first half towards the end, weren't we? And was getting a bit worried that Coventry were going to grab an equaliser and then sit behind the ball, just like Cardiff did when they went down to 10 men at Ewood. So, no, just very happy we cut the game off, got the 3 points. That's what we needed. Else, people definitely would have been asking questions of Tony Mowbray. No, very happy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to lead the show. The first topic, it's the man unleashed. What a performance from Ben Brereton. Rovers chat, we tweeted Benjamin Brereton because of the 3 assists. Joe, just how good was he today?
Yeah, Ben's had a great game, and good for him as well. I think we saw signs towards the end of last season. We saw some more signs this season, and then Wednesday, a kind of goal out of nowhere, and you're thinking, can he build on it? And we touched on it pre-match, and for anyone that didn't join us pre-game, be sure to join us pre-game in the future. We kind of touched on all these things, and now it's really nice to be able to sit here and talk about, our expectations coming true, really. He played off the left again, which is suiting him. Defenders can't handle him. I think it was McCallum that was trying to mark him today, and it reminded me of Adam Armstrong's performance at Sheffield Wednesday, and their right back just couldn't get near. I just thought the link-up play down that left-hand side, with Douglas in the first half, and then a lot more with Elliot in the second half, when Elliot kind of drifted over and helped him. And when John Buckley came on, I thought that link-up between Buckley, Elliot, Brereton in the last kind of 15 minutes of the game was, as Hunter's Army said, it was pretty sexy, wasn't it? We were all impressed, and unfortunately he didn't manage to grab a goal. He was unlucky. He had some chances, and I think how unselfish of him to square for Elliot. A lovely ball with his left foot, we must say, but great to see, because it's so easy. I think in that situation, would a Sam Gallagher have found that pass or gone for goal maybe? So a calm head, 3 assists is bang on, and if he can keep setting them up for everybody else, then nobody's complaining. Really impressed with Ben, and glad he's starting to prove people wrong.
Yeah, he looks a real threat from that wide position now, and we've all commented on the physicality and whatever that he's added to his game. He just looks such a strong option coming from there now. Jacob, was the only thing missing from him today a goal? I mean, I must admit, when he had that chance right at the end, it just would have capped a brilliant performance. So unlucky, but how was Ben Brereton for you today?
I mean, that definitely would have capped it, wouldn't it? But I mean, he hit it with his left foot, unfortunately went straight at the keeper. He is obviously right-footed, but no, he was faultless today. Absolutely unplayable. I'm just glad he's coming good now, and he's proving the haters wrong that he's had ever since he came, and he really is looking like the real deal now. I mean, I am so surprised that he's working on the left, because when we first got him, he was a donkey, weren't he? I mean, the way he's been dribbling in today's game and getting past men, even assisting, just so unexpected, and he's a breath of fresh air. He can't be dropped. He just can't be.
Absolutely. And Scott Taylor in the comments, Harvey Elliot class. We'll come on to Elliot shortly, but Ben Brereton looks a different, more mature player class. May it continue. Get in, lads. And then Ovez 2006, Brereton man of the match, which, I don't think any of us are going to disagree with. Alex, Ben Brereton's performance, can you pick out some things that stood out for you? How did you find him today?
I could just tell with his demeanour, really, from the first whistle. He just looked like he was in a different mood completely to what I've seen in the past. He just looked like he was so keen to get involved in the game for a start, which is always good. And you could just see the confidence flowing through him. He's dribbling, playing the ball through for the goals was just fantastic. I think the thing with Brereton for me, and I don't think a lot of people have mentioned this, is that I think he was always signed to play as that wide striker. And I think Mowbray in the past at all of his previous clubs has always played with the 4-3-3 or a variation of that, and has always been looking to move to that kind of play with Rovers. But it just never really happened for various reasons. He tried it at the start of the League One season. It didn't work out, so he kind of went back to basics. And then he's kind of flirted with it since we've been promoted, and it's never really worked out. But I think post-lockdown, since Mowbray's really committed to this 4-3-3 on a permanent basis, I think it's no surprise that that's coincided with Brereton's first real good run in the team. And he's really only started showing what he's about since we've moved to this 4-3-3. And that makes sense, really, because I think we based signing Brereton on his role as a wide striker at Forest, when I think Mark Warburton played a similar 4-3-3 at Forest. So I'm really pleased for him. Obviously, he has a lot of doubters. I don't think any Rovers fan wants him to play badly. I think we're all desperate for him to succeed. I think sometimes we're so desperate for him to do well that the frustration can kind of spill over a bit based on his price tag. But I think he just now he knows what the benchmark is now, and he needs to continue doing that on a regular basis, and I think we'll be saying that about a lot of players now. They need to do this on a more regular basis. But the signs today are that if he can continue in this vein, then there actually is a player in there, which is, I think we're all really glad about.
That's right. And certainly in the comments, Stephen Mason and Hunter's Army, both in agreement that when he first signed, the word donkey, I don't think we're being harsh at times when, he did look a bit like Bambi on ice. But absolutely fair credit to Brereton to improve his game the way he has and work on his physicality. Moving on then, Brereton epitomised the whole side today in terms of work rate and pressing. Joe, what have you picked up from the performance today about how Rovers set their stall out? I think, one of the comments in the box there is we suffocated Coventry. Just how good were we today at that?
Well, not to put a negative slant on it, but I think Coventry were dreadful. I think it showed that they lacked their key players. I think the injuries were there to see. I think that was really obvious from the get-go. I don't think there was any purpose to their play. Almost all of their possession was extremely passive. It was all in their own third. The continuation of those short goal kicks, even after going a man and a goal down, baffling. I think we definitely benefited from their weird play. Much like Wickham, I think this game was a very similar outlook from start to finish, really. They looked a League One side and not a League One side that had been promoted, just a League One side. And yeah, suffocate's probably the right word. I don't know what percentage of that you can put down to us and which you can put down to them, but you can only play what's in front of you, of course. Obviously, we're all really happy with how the game's gone. We've got to kind of keep calm, of course, because at the end of the day, I expect Coventry to be down there at the end of the year. So we've got a big task against Reading in the week, which I'm sure we're going to come on to. And yeah, you know, I mean, the Hunters Army's comment there, Coventry were dreadful because we made them dreadful. Yeah, I take that point on board. I think we did press them high. I think they showed some interesting traits and some weird tactics. And I think that in some ways they shifted to a defensive shape in the second half when they should have done that as soon as we went 1-0 up, and they should have perhaps played the game differently. I think they showed their true ability today. But Mowbray in his post-match was actually quite nice towards them, said that he thought that they were a good side and that he thinks they'll be up there at the end of the year, and that they were just a little unlucky, which is interesting. I don't know if I agree. What do you guys think? Do you think Tiam's right on that one?
I don't think I agree with that. No, they're not going to be up there. They might be mid-table, but I don't think they're going to be up there, are they?
Even with the injuries as well? 8 players out. Do you think if they get Darboe and Walker back in the side, they can provide a little bit more on the counter? I mean, we saw early on where they hit the post. That could have been a very different game if that goes in, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I look at that absentee list. I can't say I know too much about them. It might be just players that grow into this league, so to speak, rather than ones that really fire them up it. But, I stand to be corrected on that. Yeah.
So just to follow up on Mowbray's post-match, we'll just read a few things that he's kind of come out with before we move on. On Kaminski, he says it's disappointing because it looks like he's picked up a groin strain. It's his 4th clean sheet of the season, and he's a real experienced man with a humble personality. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think there was a comment on here. I don't know who's put it. Let's have a little look. Somebody mentioned that we're probably going to see Pairs, whichever way you say it, on Tuesday against Reading. So, yeah, that's an interesting one as well. So interesting dynamic today. TM definitely seems to view the game slightly differently to how we might view it. So interesting to see what the fans might think.
Definitely. So Jacob, Joe just touched on it there. I was quite surprised with how they played when they went down to 10 men. And then before the game, we also spoke about the XG and Rovers having the possession and things like that. I just got the sense before this game that Coventry really fancied it and really fancied going for Rovers today. With or without 10 men, do you think that was a bit of their downfall, that maybe they did go for us a little bit and maybe they should have adapted their style to cope with us a bit better?
I mean, I definitely thought it was very foolish when they were down to 10 men. The amount of times the keeper was passing it to a centre-back, and one time in particular, Harvey Elliot stuck a leg out and must have been at least like a centimetre or two off it. And he put his head down because he knew he was so close. And if he nabs that ball, he's in for a goal. It was just very silly. And the amount of confidence they were showing, even with 10 men to play like that, I think you're right in saying they probably should have adapted their play to us. But in the same regard, you got to think that obviously coming into this game, we were in bad form. A draw and 2 losses, so maybe they thought they could have had us obviously at home, but they tried. They obviously went down to 10 men. That didn't help, but like I mentioned, they put that chance in that hits the post, and could have been a totally different game. They don't go down to 10 men, could have been a totally different game, but from what we saw, they were very poor today, and they probably should have tried to expose our weaknesses.
Yeah. And Alex, at times, I thought the pressing was absolutely relentless, just right onto the 6-yard line sometimes. And there was a couple of occasions where the keeper, nearly made a bit of a howler passing it to Armstrong or whoever. Were you surprised just at how good our press was today?
In some ways, no, because I think this kind of way of playing has been ingrained into us, I think, probably since the start of this season. And I think we've seen, really, this is the 3rd example after the Wycombe and Derby games where I think the opposition did play into our hands slightly, but I think we shocked them at how well we recycled the ball. As soon as Coventry won the ball back, invariably we won it back within 5 to 10 seconds almost every time, and we recycled the ball and we were back on the attack again. And I think watching the game, even in the first half when we were 1-0 up, I just got the sense that the more we pressed and probed throughout the game, we were going to tire them out. We had just so much of the ball. It was just so backs to the wall for them that I just thought we would eventually find a way through. And in the end, that proved to be right. The hitting the post is mentioned. I think if he'd have hit the side netting from that tight angle, I don't think anyone would be mentioning it. But I think because he hit the woodwork, everyone's mentioning it as a big chance. It was at quite a tight angle. I don't think it was like a golden chance that he had to score. I think he's hit it well, he's hit it hard, and it's hit the post flush. I don't think it's as big a chance as people are making out. Having said that, obviously, the context of hitting the post and then Rovers winning a penalty at the other end within a minute, obviously that looks like a massive swing in the game. But yeah, I think it was just really a continuation of when teams pass out from the back. We've exploited that. And I think that's been Marlborough's intention from the start of this season, really. I think we're just seeing really a naive side playing into our hands today. But in the past, under previous managers, we've not had that ruthless instinct to kill these teams off. We can talk about how bad Coventry were or how bad Wycombe were or how bad Derby were. But when have we ever dispatched the bad teams by 4 goals or 5 goals? We've never done that before. So that does show that this side maybe does have that extra killer instinct, even though we have missed chances. But we have that relentless kind of drive to get more and more goals that maybe previous Rovers sides haven't had.
Yeah. And Jacob, before I come to Joe again on some of the XG and some of the stuff we spoke about before the game, Alex has just referenced Godden hitting the post within a minute or so. They were down to 10 men and Armstrong had scored the penalty. Could this game have ultimately been a bit different had Godden not hit the post and had Coventry had 10 men? Or did you really fancy Rovers today with how we set up?
It definitely could have been different, but I mean, looking at the stats, they had 3 shots, 1 on target. The 1 shot on target didn't really challenge Kaminsky all that much. I mean, they just looked very toothless, didn't they? They posed no threat all game, and obviously you could put some of that down to them only having 10 men, but they knew they had to come out and get a goal when we were 1-0 up, and they posed no threat whatsoever. And then obviously when it's 2-0, the game's over with at that point, isn't it? So, no, I do still think we would have come away with the win today. Definitely not 4-0, but I still think we would have won. Yeah.
And Joe, before the game then, we made, we went through a lot of the XG and a lot of the possession stats and things. Yeah. You've got some stats from today, haven't you, and in comparison to the Wycombe game. So how were we looking today?
Yeah, so we've got a few bits and bobs. We haven't got everything yet. And for anybody who's more interested in this kind of stuff, more stats and a proper post-match review will go out on the Rovers Analytics account. And we usually put a write-up on the Rovers Chat website as well. So, yeah, so today's XG, which is expected goals, we were at 3.86, which is pretty impressive. We scored 4, so yet again, we outscored our XG, which is a really good thing to see. Against Wycombe, we had 3.87, so basically exactly the same. And with the red card thrown in there as well, I think you can probably quite quickly compare this to the Wycombe game. And again, I think there's definitely got to be some plaudits go to Joe Rankin-Costello. I think some plaudits have to go to Barry Douglas, who I was really impressed with today. We had 66% possession, which is obviously quite high. And I think, again, that compares really well to Wycombe. We had 71% possession against Wycombe that day. So 5-0 then, 4-0 today, which I think definitely leads us down to the conversation that we should probably have about Lewis Holtby. Some key chances missed in the first half. Mowbray mentioned in his post-match conversation with the media that he was frustrated to not be more than 1-0 up at half-time. And I kind of sat there with my half-time brew and felt the same way. Felt that we probably could have been 3-0 up, 4-0 up. And I think on the balance of things, we probably could have won the game 8-0 today if we finished every chance. We don't finish every chance, and that's okay. And we'll probably look in more detail at some of the chances that we didn't take, some of the chances that we did. You know, you look at the Gallagher goal, the fourth one that went in, and you know that is a goal that comes from nothing, and it's not a goal that you would expect to score. Some amazing tricks and flicks and 1-2s on the edge of the box, and then you know a shot that the keeper probably should save. And so you know you score some, you miss some, and that's the way it is. Delighted for Adam Armstrong from a analytical point of view because he'd been getting quite a bit of stick. But look, 2 goals today, impressive, proving everybody wrong still. Is that 8 from 8, I think? Or I think it's 8 from 8 and then like 20 for the calendar year, which is just incredible. So yeah, and I think Adam picks up some nice spaces today. From a tactical point of view, where it went wrong for Coventry, if there's any Coventry fans, you know, willing to listen, I think they played too high a line. Adam Armstrong got in behind way too often. The crossfield ball to Brereton for the penalty goal. Their defence was just too high. I think if they'd have sat 5-10 metres further back, we'd have only got 2 today. I think the Gallagher goal probably still goes in. You know, but if they'd have sat deeper, I don't think that penalty comes about. And I don't think Adam Armstrong gets in behind so often. And I think we would have become a little bit more reliant on an Elliot on the right wing to create things for us. So yeah, so definitely an interesting game. Tactically, I think it's more of a case of they got it massively wrong and we got it as right as you need to get it right to win games like that.
Yeah. We're all Blackburn Rovers fans, aren't we? So we were sat there at halftime thinking, my word, this has got the potential to go wrong. 24 shots on target in the game, 9 of them on target. I think, Joe, you told us earlier that Holtby had 7 shots, all off target.
Yeah.
Alex, you know, let's drill down into Lewis Holtby's performance a little bit then. Ultimately, should he have scored, first and foremost? And at halftime, what were you thinking?
Well, I think with Lewis Holtby, well, the simple answer is yes, he should have scored. I think with Holtby, I think it probably goes back to when Mowbray used to play him as a 10. That I think some Rovers fans kind of expect him to be in the Dak mould in terms of getting those goals inside the box, and it really isn't his game. His game, I think, as we've seen this season, he's at his best when he's much deeper, just spraying those passes around the pitch, helping the team, you know, continue to move the ball. So, yeah, I think he should have scored at least. I think that double chance he had, where it really opened up for him in the box, that should have been a goal for sure. I think the 2 headers were less so, less big of a chance really, but that double kind of chance that he had, he has to be scoring at least one of those. Thinking about half-time, I was just pleased with the nature of the performance, to be honest, after Wednesday, that we continued to play in that similar vein. I think I was worried for sure. But I think the big contrast today was on Wednesday we conceded in the first 2 minutes of the second half. Today we scored in the first 2 minutes, and you can the whole complexion of the game changes then. Coventry just realise the game's dead at that point, and Rovers then just keep the ball rolling and suffocate them, as some of the comments have said. But yeah, I think at our time we were all quite nervous. I think we understood the importance of this game when you've looked at the previous results, and I think we all knew that getting the 3 points today was really quite important, I think, for the season going forward. So yeah, there was nerves, but ultimately we sit here having won 4-0, and you know it doesn't really matter what we thought at half-time, I suppose, does it?
No, and I must say the Holtby chance that you referenced there, where he was, you know, he'd got through on goal, but that pass from Bradley Johnson was brilliant, I thought, and one of the most underrated passes of the game, I think, and no one really spoke about it. And that little bit he did in the second half where he turned and then megged someone as well was just absolutely sensational. Jacob, do you think that Holtby benefited today from Tribal in midfield, who I thought just sat in and allowed Holtby to go forward? You know, how impressed were you with Holtby's attacking threat?
like it's been mentioned, he definitely should have put that shot away when he was through on goal with the Johnson pass. I was really impressed with him, especially the link-up play right at the end with Harvey Elliot to create Sam Gallagher's goal. It was beautiful. You can tell they're on the same wavelength, two crafty players who both obviously understand each other, and that's what I mean. Harvey Elliot hasn't even been he's been at the club for a week now, hasn't he? So that really excited me. With Tribal, I think he did go a bit unnoticed today, but in that sort of position, that's sometimes what you want. So he's just steady. He spread the ball quite well. I didn't think Bradley Johnson suited being further up front where he was today. There was a few times where he was infuriating me with some of the balls where he just lofted them over and they just get headed out. But it was a very good pass to put Lewis Holtby through. But other than that, I didn't really rate Johnson today. I think he is much better in that role that Tribal was in. So I think obviously them two are going to be competing for that role. I think maybe, like we mentioned before the game, if it's Holtby and Joe Rankin-Costello, it could have been totally different. But Joe Rankin-Costello was very impressive today, especially with that ball for the penalty.
Yeah, just a few comments before we move on from Lewis Holtby. Hunter's Army, Holtby really showed his quality today, and Tuesday playing really well at the minute. That flick he did with his left foot 4 times in 2 minutes were as slick and naughty as his hair. And then Andy Watson, Holtby, 70 goals, 75 assists in his career until this season, can score goals but isn't a natural finisher. And I think, maybe it showed with those finishes today, Andy. And then, Joe, before we move on, Hunter's Army is asking you, halftime brew, where's the Foster's gone? So you've obviously let yourself down there. And Andy Watson, just a final comment on Holtby, brings so much balance to the midfield. Think of the difference between today and Cardiff when he wasn't there. Absolutely, Andy. I think he's a really important player for us now, really important. Armstrong gets all the plaudits with the goals, but I think Holtby's really risen to the fore in recent weeks, certainly. We're just going to drill down into some stats about the game then. Joe, I think you've got some stats about Rovers today in comparison to the rest of the division. So talk us through some of the impressive stats from us today.
Yeah, so I don't actually know all of our league's results from today. I know Preston picked up a win over Huddersfield, but quite a few red cards. So there was a red card in our game, a red card in the Sheffield Wednesday Luton game, a red card in Norwich versus Wickham, and a red card at Huddersfield Preston. So a busy day for our referees. But in terms of Rovers comparing to the rest of the league, today we had a passing accuracy 87%. I wrote that down wrong. 87%, which was the highest in the division today across any game, which is really nice to see. I thought, that doesn't shock me. I think Elliot, Holtby, Tribal, they've all got that Premier League touch. They get the foot on the ball. They keep it moving. We recycled possession really well. Shots on target 9, which was the highest in the division today, out of 24 though. So, a significant amount of shots off target. We talked about Lewis Holtby. There was a few others as well. A high and wide one from, I think it was Bradley Johnson to finish us off at the end of the game, which was just like, if we weren't 4-0 up, you'd be thinking, crikey. 15 successful dribbles, which was the highest in the division today as well. And I would imagine that'll be up there with the highest of any game this season, based off my knowledge of our successful dribbles so far. Again, I think Ben Brereton and Harvey Elliot take pretty much all of the credit for those. 16 successful dribbles is incredibly high. For anybody that doesn't follow statistics in that way, it might not sound like a lot, but successful dribbles don't just equate to having the ball and there's no pressure on you. That's like beating a man, which is just incredible. And like I said, I think Ben Brereton's going to give, was it McCallum, nightmares tonight. I don't think he'll want to face him again. I think, again, when I talk about their injuries, they would have been so much better off if Darboe had played. I think they would have silenced Brereton a little bit more. He's a great right back, but again, out injured. And then finally, 607 completed passes, which was the highest in the division today. But if we just compare that slightly, so keep that figure in mind, we've got 607 successful passes. And if I just get it up in front of me and get our passing stats up from some of our more recent games. So up against Watford, passes, we played 598. So a very similar amount. We had a similar possession as well. But then if you look at some of our worst results, so Nottingham Forest, we only played 474 passes, which might not sound like a huge difference, but over the course of a game, it's a big difference. We recycled possession well. It wasn't just possession in the defensive areas, it was passes in the final third as well. So nice to see us be the highest in the division at lots of things. We scored the most goals today as well, obviously, and the most assists from one player. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of other things that we did the most of. And for anybody who's going to try and mither me about the team of the week, I don't have any control over the FIFA team of the week, despite obviously some people know about my role at EA Sports. I don't have control of the team of the week. I can't get Ben Brereton in for us. Let's just hope that he's in there, right?
Well, those stats thoroughly impressive, just across the board, aren't they there? And just the only block, probably the percentage conversion of those chances. Holtby should have had 2, shouldn't he? So we could have easily been, 5, 6, 7, and really with those number of chances. So we're going to drill down into another player then. We put a tweet out earlier from Rovers chat about Harvey Elliot. Alex, he played another 90 minutes. What's your thoughts on Harvey Elliot now you've seen him for 180 minutes in a Rovers shirt?
I said this on Wednesday night, and I can only really add to it in a sense that I just can't believe that watching him that he's 17. And that, as Jacob said, he's only been at the club for a little over a week, 8 days. I just think it's absolutely spectacular what he's done so far. I think there was a concern that maybe he was more of a creative player than a goal scorer, but he got in the right position today for Brereton to square, and it was a really confident finish, I thought. And considering that's his first ever senior goal, we may get. I think he did promise at Liverpool that if he had that, if he got his first goal, that he would cut that ridiculous hair he's got. So maybe we'll see that going forward, which will be funny to see. But yeah, I'm really impressed with him. He looks so confident, and I can just tell from the first 2 games I've seen that he looks like he will be an excellent player going forward for us. And I'm just excited to see how he blends in this season as he gets more and more familiar with the players we've got.
Yeah. And Jacob, we spoke in the pre-match preview about, should Tyrese Dolan had started the game? We had a comment that, is it harsh? You look at those stats there from Harvey Elliott, first in the match for key passes, first for long ball accuracy, a goal, an assist, aerial duels won, he's won a couple there. Is this why Dolan is out of the side at the moment? Because ultimately Harvey Elliott is just a bit more of a polished player, a bit more of a refined player. You can tell that he's been at Liverpool. Are these stats just showing you why Dolan's possibly going to have to be patient now?
Definitely. I mean, he's obviously coming from a Liverpool side that playing well. We're kind of imitating how Liverpool play right now, aren't we? It's a very similar system. He obviously knows it inside out. And like got mentioned the other night when you were reviewing that game, it's unbelievable to think he's 17. I'm 20, and it makes me feel old thinking he's playing football and doing so well. I mean, some of the, like it says, 100% long ball accuracy. He can spread the ball so well. I mean, I was very surprised to see him drift into the middle once Armstrong came off and have Gallagher on the wing and Brereton on the other wing, but he handled it really well, again, for a 17-year-old to be moved out of his natural position and then moved into the striker position. And then that's when he had the link-up play with Holtby to then provide for Sam Gallagher's goal. He's handling the pressure really well, deserved the goal today, deserved the assist today. I'd say behind Ben Brereton, he was definitely the second best player on the pitch.
Yeah. And Rovers fans in the comments, let's just get a quick straw poll. If you had to start Dolan or Harvey Elliott at the moment, who are you starting out there? I think the way Brereton's played today and obviously Armstrong as top scorer, it's those two. So who is it for the third position, Elliot or Dolan? Hit us in the comments. Let's see what you think. Certainly a lot of love for Harvey Elliot in the comments, though. Oliver 1987, Harvey Elliot to lead the Rovers promotion party. And Hunter's Army, he is a player, looks like he has so much experience, no fear, works hard, he plays like a 30-year-old knowledge-wise and with the intensity of a 21-year-old. Joe, I've been really impressed with that work rate side of Harvey Elliott's game. We spoke about it on the transfer show that we did and whatnot. He's obviously had lots of things going on in his private life, you know, particularly when he was younger, and maybe I had a preconception of him because of that. Have you been impressed with that work rate as well and just what he's doing off the ball for Rovers?
Yeah, I think the press in general was there today. I don't think the press was as effective on Wednesday. It was nice to see the press today. And everyone was really high up there. But he gets involved. I think sometimes you can see his youth. You'll notice, like, when Sam Gallagher comes on, the press is still there, but he knows when to go and sometimes when it might not be advantageous. So, yeah, he shows his youth. I like Harvey Elliot, and already we can see the comments flooding in. It doesn't shock me that people would prefer Elliot. I think, in general, him having a left foot just provides a huge balance for us. It's so difficult when you're attacking forward, when Hope is in deep spaces, that, you know, all of your front three have got a right foot, you know, so you want someone to be able to curl it with their left. And that chance that that Elliot put away, would Joe Rothwell or Sam Gallagher have been able to hit that with their left foot? Would Tyree Dolan have been able to hit that with his left foot? Perhaps not. So having a left footer to provide those other options, bang on, really brilliant. And I would start him ahead of Dolan, who I'm also a big fan of.
Yeah. And Alex, before we move on to a different area of the pitch, we look at Rovers now. Bradley Dack to come back. Rothwell didn't play today. Gallagher's only just come back. Dolan didn't get any minutes today. Got quite a lot of options going forward now, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we kind of mentioned that Coventry had obviously weren't potentially the strongest that they could be today, and that may have been a contributing factor to the nature of the win. But I think you can also make a case that Rovers are still nowhere near their strongest. You look at some of the players that we've got out at the minute, I would say that Bradley Dack and Lewis Travis are as good a player as we've got in our squad. And then obviously out with long-term injuries at the minute. So, you know, we say that, you know, we may have got slightly lucky playing Coventry at this particular time. But, you know, what are Rovers going to be like if they get Travis and Dack into this team? I think when Mowbray moved Elliot to that false nine position, I think it maybe gave a hint to how Mowbray maybe sees Dack fitting into this system. It wouldn't be my preferred way of Dack playing. I've never really been a fan of him as a false nine, but looking at today's game, I think it gave me the impression that that's where he will look to involve Dack going forward when he gets back into the team. But that potentially leaves a question of, you know, where does Armstrong fit in to all this? Because I can't really see Armstrong going back out wide either. You know, him coming into the middle coincided with this brilliant run of form he's had since the new year, really. So I think there'll be a lot of difficult decisions for Mowbray going forward, but ultimately you only have difficult decisions to make in terms of selection when you have a plethora of good players in your squad. So it's definitely a good thing to have. But yeah, I agree in the sense that the options will only increase as the season goes on if we can keep players fit. And if we can keep players fit, then yeah, I can only see Rovers, to be honest, improving over this season. Yeah.
Well, we asked for Rovers fans to join us on the show earlier, and I'm pleased to say that we've got one, and I think it's Andy Watson. So he should be joining us now to pose his question to us. Here he is. Andy, how are you doing, mate?
Hi, everybody. This is fun, isn't it?
It is. What's your question? What do you want to say?
My question is to Jacob, as the only person that I've not spoken to loads on this panel already in my life. we saw obviously Derek Williams come back into the team today, and we were all dying for a new centre back all summer, and we brought one in Daniel Ayala, and everyone was really excited about that. But do you actually think now that Ayala should be third choice behind Williams and Darrell Lenihan? So
it's a very good question, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, I feel like with Derek Williams, I feel like a lot of fans still can't get out of the head when he was being forced to play left back, and he was pretty woeful there at times. He obviously didn't have the pace. When we got him from Bristol City, I do believe he played at centre back for them. And obviously, over the past year or so, when he's been playing at centre back, he's been faultless in my opinion. I can't remember off the top of my head anyway a bad game he's had at centre back. I do think you can't really take him out of the team. Ayala didn't have the best of games against Watford. I think we have to take into consideration as well that game against Watford was what Ayala's maybe third or fourth game for the calendar year, and I think that maybe he needs a bit more time to get his fitness up, gel with the squad, and then if Lenihan or Williams are unfit to play a game, he gets his chance again and he'll have to prove himself.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well.
Great. And any other comments, Andy? Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, just a general comment that I thought they were superb today, Rovers, and just suffocated Coventry. Just one more thing for Joe, this one. Hi, Joe, are you okay?
Yeah, you're right, mate.
Yeah, good, thanks. Have you ever seen a season where we've had such high XG in so many of our matches? I've obviously looked at the XG for the last 2 or 3 years, and there's hardly been a season where we've got over 3 XG in a match, and now we're managing it quite regularly, it seems.
Yeah, you bang on. I think if we just go back to kind of 2018, I think maybe there might be a period in the Rhodes Gusted era, back in the Gary Bowyer times, but I don't really think the data goes back far enough. But yeah, certainly in recent times, it's the highest we've seen. And then I suppose it then comes down to that question, doesn't it, of why is that? Is that because we're controlling the ball more, or is Adam Armstrong a more complete striker than ones that we've had? Or I don't know, it's tough to say. I think really people see Brereton and Doan as wide players, or Elliot now, but they're not, are they? We play with 3 forwards, so I think you're going to have higher XG when you've got 3 proper forwards on the pitch. So yeah, you bang on, mate, absolutely.
Yeah. Great show, guys. Keep it going.
Bro.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks very much. Bye. Cheers. See you later.
See you, mate. So just one comment there about the Derek Williams from Simon Child. Centre back is all about partnerships. The record of Lenihan and Williams together is our best partnership. Ayala will get his chance later. I think I've seen enough, and the stats back it up now, that I think as that partnership, it probably is our best one. And what a replacement to have in Daniel Ayala. A good championship backup plan right there. If we look back to the end of last season, we had Hayden Carter coming in, didn't we? This time we might have Daniel Ayala. So, it makes the world of difference. So we'll move on then. Alex, the fullback area, particularly left back, has had a lot of airtime this year. We're not going to pull out Amari Bell again here. Let's just focus on the 2 that did play today. Joe reassured us before the game that Joe Rankin Costello playing was a good thing and we shouldn't be worried. And that's ultimately proved true. How did you think the 2 fullbacks did today?
I thought they were fantastic. I mean, we spoke about Douglas before the game. Why we would have preferred him over Bell. That assist, kind of that creativity down that side. I think we saw during the game, just in these first 60 minutes, that every time we had the ball, he was just bombing down that left-hand side. He was providing that width, getting those crosses into the box. There was less of that kind of hesitancy that we see from Bell, where he almost can't decide whether he's going to go forward or back, whether he's going to pass inside. I think you could just see with Douglas right from the off, really. He just had that level of confidence to go forward and commit forward. And I think the system that Mowbray's playing now, it just relies entirely on the fullbacks playing almost almost as wingers, to be honest. You know, they're playing that high up the pitch that they're almost like wingers. I think Joe commented on a private chat that we were almost playing like a 2-3-5 formation, and I completely agree with that. You know, they were playing so high up the pitch, and I think that's probably why Rankin Costello was involved today. I think Mowbray probably thought that, you know, this side, Coventry, they've just come out of League One. We have nothing to fear. You know, we can press them high. You know, we can be extremely positive. And ultimately, it's proven right, you know. And I think in the past, I do think Nyambe offers slightly more one-on-one at the back. But I think undoubtedly, if it's what you want from your fullbacks, and I think from what we've seen this season, I think what Mowbray wants is that delivery into the box, that creativity side of the game. And I think if you want that creativity side of the game, then Douglas and Costello are the two to pick, you know, if that's the way you want to play.
Sure. And Jacob, Amari Bell made it onto the pitch in the second half. How did you think he did when he came on?
Pleasantly surprised. I mean, for the first time, I was actually calling for him to come onto the pitch. Didn't think I'd be saying that, but no, I did think after Douglas got the yellow card, he made a couple of silly challenges, and I were a bit worried that the ref may equal the numbers if he were to put one more foul in. So I were glad he came on. He didn't do that bad, to be fair. He did do a few good passes, a couple of good runs. I weren't infuriated with him as I usually am. I do think he's obviously prior to the Watford game, he did have a couple of good games then as well. So I do think he maybe needed this pressure at left back. He hasn't really had it since we signed him. We've had Derek Williams, but like I mentioned, he isn't a left back. He doesn't have the pace. He's been shown up way too many times at left back. And I think this pressure is healthy for him. Hopefully he can thrive on it. And it does make me wonder if going into the Reading game, whether Bell and Nyambe are going to start and we're going to go for a more defensive setup. As we know, obviously Reading are top of the league. And I know when we signed Barry Douglas, stats were compared between Bell and Douglas, and Bell was the better defender as a left back, whereas Douglas was obviously more of a creative and attacking fullback. So I do wonder whether that'll happen. I hope not. I hope it's Douglas and Nyambe, or Douglas and Rankin Costello, because obviously Rankin Costello played very well today. But we'll have to wait and see.
Sure. I think the key thing is, though, all across the park, maybe apart from centre-back, we've got options all over, haven't we? And, you know, a toss-up between Rankin and Costello and Nyambe, what a brilliant toss-up to have. And then all over the park, we've just got players that can come in. With the final, 5 minutes or so, then let's look forward to the Reading game. You mentioned it there, Joe. Sorry, Jacob. Joe, they sit top of the table, 5 points clear, which is mental. Should we fear them when we play them?
Yes, absolutely. We've got to fear everybody. You've got to, we talked about this after Watford, didn't we? I think we went into that game with a huge naivety to think that we could play our game and not worry about them and do what we needed to do, and that we would come away with points, and we didn't. And obviously I'm not glad that we didn't win, but I'm glad that kind of gave us a bit of a kick up the bum. I think we needed that, really. It's interesting, though, because Reading sit top of the league, but just to pull up a little bit of their data, their expected goals per game sits at 1.22, which is fairly low. And their expected goals against sits at 1.38, yet they've got plus 10 goal difference and they're top of the league, like you say. And I think that probably tells you straight away, without delving into it too much. And before we play them, obviously, we'll probably have a pre-match stream and I'll have a little bit more data by then. But just from that quick glance, that tells you straight away that this is a team that's clinical. They're finishing their chances. To have an expected goals ratio of 1.22 and to be scoring well above it, that's pretty impressive. Their average possession is 47%. So I wouldn't expect them to be as attacking as, say, Watford were. But, I don't think they'll be as defensive as Cardiff or Forest. So I think it'll be its own unique game. I'm worried about our home form. I'm worried that whenever we go into an away game, I feel quite confident, and then as soon as we're back at Ewood, I start to worry. I think playing away from home suits us so well in the press that we're operating. So we'll see. Obviously, Brereton scored against Reading at the end of 1920. We picked up a 4-3 win. So maybe that familiar feeling of a home 4-3 win over Reading so recently will spur us forward. I think quite a few of the players that played in that game will end up playing in this game as well midweek, which is nice. I think the toss-up in terms of who plays at right back's a difficult one, and the same at left back. For me, you win 4-0, you don't change the team. I think it's got to be the same side. Nobody deserves to be dropped after today. I think me and Jacob probably disagree a bit on Bradley Johnson. I thought he actually was better suited to being a bit further forward, just retaining possession for us. I think when he has the responsibility of, let's say, the tribal role today, I think he forces things a bit too much. So anyway, everyone played well today. I'm conscious of time. Sorry. Everyone played well. I wouldn't change the team, and we'll have a bit more data on Reading for the pre-match stream.
Sure. And Rovers fans watching, before we end this stream, put your comments in about the Reading game. How are you feeling going into it? We're playing top of the league in midweek. We've had a 4-0 victory today, yes, but they've had a 3-0 victory, and they're the only team that have got a better goal difference than us. And you've just heard from Joe, they are a clinical side, and they sit 5 points top of the league for a reason. So how are you feeling going into that Reading game? Alex, I'll come on to you then. Today is obviously a fantastic result for Rovers. We've broken it down a little bit where it went well for us, all those things we've done well. In essence, a perfect performance today. What are we going to have to do on, is it Tuesday night against Reading? What are we going to have to do?
We're going to have to find a way to break teams down at home. It's something that we've not managed to do on several occasions last season. We had far too many draws at home. And I think George just mentioned it, that even though we're only operating with a small sample size, only 3 home games so far, it does seem that we've kind of started in the same vein at home as we had last season, where we had a lot of possession but just couldn't break these teams down. I think Reading are a unique side, like Joe said. They did come to Ewood at the end of last season and were very positive. And it was a high-scoring match, 4-3 win. So I think they'll come to Ewood quite confident, being top of the league and significantly clear at the top of the league. So I don't think it will be, as much of a task to, break them down. But if we want to win the game, we're going to have to, I think we're going to have to be more clinical than we were today. As we mentioned, it could have been 8 or 9-0. And we may only get 2 or 3 chances against Reading, quality chances. And if we want to win the game, we're going to have to score nearly all of them with the amount that they're scoring. And, if they're exceeding their XG on a regular basis, we're going to have to be putting away more of our chances if we want to win the game.
Yeah. And Jacob, just as the final word then, before we close the stream off, how are you feeling about this Reading game?
I mean, the news has brought that Kaminski's injured, isn't it? So it's going to be a big game for Pairs. Yeah, he's really going to have to step up against top of the league. If it's like the stats show, Reading are very clinical. He's going to have to maybe pull off quite a few good saves. I know when you talked to the Middlesbrough lad, it was said that he's a very good shot stopper. So hopefully he can put in a good shift for us. And you never know, if he plays well, he may end up retaining his place in the first team. That's what he wanted when he's come here. So it's going to be a big game for him. And that's been mentioned. We can't be having 20 shots against Reading, 9 on target. And, I know we put 4 away today, but against Reading, it's not going to be that easy, is it, to be putting the goals away like we have today. So, we do need to be more clinical. And let's just see.
Indeed. And Scott Taylor has put a comment here. I think Mowbray realised after the Watford game that against the better teams, our win-backs can't play that high. hopefully same performance against Reading, a little tweak and a win. Big game Tuesday. Yeah, it might be those little tweaks that we see to the side. You know, could be Nyambi for ranking Costello, for example. Wouldn't shock me to see Corey Evans come in, for example. He might just make those little tweaks here and there. Okay, I don't think we've got any other comments, but what I will do is give out the prize for comment of the night, which is from Scott Taylor. Are we going for BAY as our front three acronym then before anyone else? So what's the thoughts? Does that one get a thumbs up from everyone for our front three acronym?
It does in a strange way because my dad works for BAE Systems, so I think I'll go with BAE. I think that works quite well, actually. Yeah, I'll go with that.
So that's a thumbs up, Scott. You get the prize for best comment. Hunter's Army, if you are still there, you're going to have to regain that crown next time we do one of them. So we will end it there, Rovers fans. We can all go into our Saturday evenings absolutely buzzing. I'll certainly be having a couple of beers to celebrate a 4-0 victory, because if you don't celebrate after a 4-0 victory, then when do you? So, Alex, please do. This is your time to be happy. Joe, thanks for joining us again, mate.
Thanks very much. Great to be here.
Jacob, thanks again, mate.
It's a pleasure. I'm sure I'll see you all on Tuesday.
No worries. And Alex, thank you, mate. You have a good evening as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ryan.
No worries. And thank you, Rovers fans, for watching as ever. Please give us a follow on Twitter, Rovers_chat. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit a like on this video. And please give the other videos a watch. Joe's referenced the Stats Show with Andy and the Rovers Analytics account. Alex is involved with the 1875 podcast. I'll have another on the other side, previewing the Reading game as well. So there'll be plenty of stuff over this next week or so. So the only way to stay up to date is, of course, to keep subscribed to the Rovers Chat channel. So we will end it there. Have a brilliant evening, everyone. Go and celebrate that 4-0 victory, and we will be back again soon. Thanks all.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.